Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In Podcast. Today we head across the pond over in England for UFC 304. We got 14 fights, a ton of English talent, two rematches for our co-main and main event. Main event, we got Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad, ended in the eye poke last time out. And then co-main event for the interim heavyweight strap, we got Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes, ended in Tom Aspinall's knee injury last time. Excited to see both of these ran back. Let's not waste any time. Still in the rut, man, trying to get out of it. Think it was a dreaded reverse sweep for us both last week. I will let you run through those real quick, man, and we'll get things started.
Yeah, so we were both on limos. That just didn't look like a good bet. She couldn't win the scrambles against the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. You had Miranda Maverick, round 3 props. I didn't watch the fight, didn't watch it back. Was it close?
I'm about to say we were out doing something. I don't even think I got caught much of that fight either.
Choi wins by TKO round 1. We knew they were going to bang. He just didn't come out on top. And then Lee by decision versus Hyder Emil. Hyder Emil surprised everybody there, in my opinion. Did not expect that. Minus 2.45 units for you. Then looking over my card, had 2 units on Amanda Lemos. Terrible pick. Choi round 1. Then a parlay with Luana Carolina and Cayenne Krushinski. Kurt Holloway still has it at 37, really surprised me. And then Mo Usman versus Thomas Peterson fight doesn't go the distance. It's hard for me to lay off the big boys at plus money unders. I don't know when I learned my lesson. Minus 4.39 units. Terrible night for both of us in the rearview mirror.
Yes.
Okay. So we move on to the first fight of the night. 115 pounds, Shauna Bannon versus the debutante Elise Ardeline. Ardeline, kind of an OnlyFans girl. All jokes aside, she has really good hips. Whenever look back at her tape, she actually surprised me being able to sweep some girls, use just like a really solid base to get on top of girls. And she's got some pretty outstanding pressure. Shauna Bannon, not exciting at all. Don't think that she has too many skills. Wants to stay on the outside. Kia, I don't think Elise Arden will give her the opportunity to just stick on the outside. She's going to push a pace. I played her at plus money, plus 155 for a unit. Don't love it. It's a low-level fight. I could probably take it back, but I think that she's the right side at this time. Yeah, with her price tag.
Fading Shauna Bannon at plus 155 is never a bad idea. I've been wanting to get on it all week, man. Not sold that Shauna Bannon's even UFC caliber, just my honest opinion. Laid the juice, fading her hard with Bruna Brazil last time. You know, Alice, way more physical, double the fights. Definitely the right side, man. Just extremely low-level fight with the rut that I'm in. Not a lot of units to play with right now. I decided to lay off, but I still got some. It's not tracked. I do have a little bit of degen still on Alice, but she's one of these girls on short notice as well. You talked about the OnlyFans. It looks like maybe a lot of the career earnings coming outside the octagon, so I don't know how too serious she takes this career. So, you know, the UFC would probably like to see Shauna Bannon win here on her home soil. So, again, kind of narrative-wise, I think the UFC would like to see Shauna win, but at plus money, I think you're on the right side. Clear as day, man. Hope for the best for you. Moving all the way up to 265, Mick Parkin taking on Lucas Brzeski. 3 units deep on Mick Parkin. Mick Parkin's a guy that I've backed quite a few times in his couple UFC fights so far. True heavyweight here, going to be big size advantage, big grappling upside. I think he's got big cardio upside. I think he holds a ton of the finishing upside. I just think he's a very intelligent fighter with plenty of passive victories here over Lucas Brzeski. So all over Mick Parkin here on Saturday or today.
Yeah, for me, I think you're right. He's probably going to get the win. I'm not too huge on him. Brzeski coming off of the upset win over Walter Walker, and so he is riding the little hope that he's had in the UFC. I figure he's going to try and get this done early. Mick Parkin's huge, and I think as the longer the fight goes, the more that his big body is going to wear on him. So, yeah, I've got Mick Parkin with you. I think that he's the rightful favorite, but I'm just not a huge fan of him or his skill set. So it's a pass for me. Moving up the card, we have 2 welterweights, Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosby. I mean, there's no way that at this low level of a fight, we should be seeing a minus 400. You know, the only outcome that Sam Patterson could have where he covers that price tag is a first round submission. But outside of that, like every other outcome, he doesn't cover that price tag. Kiefer Crosby, a tough dude, but he is susceptible to getting subbed. It's a weird fight because if that early sub doesn't happen, I think that the overs hit. I've been really tempted on the overs all week, but I think I'm going to lay off. I think that there's a couple better spots on the card. So Sam Patterson, no way he covers the price tag. That's my official pick.
Yeah, and he's already shown you once before why he should never be this big of a favorite. Granted, it was down at 155, but you've seen glaring holes in the durability, bad tall man defense, and Kiefer Crosby, at least for the first 5 minutes here, is going to bring it, dude. He's super physical. He's in your face. He's got good boxing combinations. And there is potential that he might land and get to the chin of Sam Patterson. But I do think if this fight gets to round 2, round 3, I think it heavily starts to swing in Sam Patterson's favor. I think those takedowns come easier and easier. And I do think Sam Patterson gets a round 2 finish here. So on the Sam Patterson side, but with you, probably not deserving of this price tag, and pass for me as well. Man, one of the most anticipated fights on the card right here. I have no idea why this is buried so low on the prelims. Ton of bad blood all week during weigh-ins and face-offs. Muhammad Mokaev taking on Manel Kape. Number 1 contender fight. Probably the winner going to get Pantoja probably in December or something like that. I know we're holding the future on Kape at like plus 1,200 or something, so that would be kind of nice. But I'm on the Mokaev side, man. I think the way he fights doesn't allow his opponents to get their game plan off of him. I think Manel Kape would much rather stay in here and strike at range and use his footwork and use his distance, and I just don't think that's the fight Mokaev's going to give him. I think Mokaev's going to be in his face, shooting 20-plus takedowns, and I think he's just going to make Manel Kape be very defensive this whole fight and not be able to get a whole lot of offense off. The one thing I am a little bit worried about is the knee up the middle from Manel Kape. He throws out a whole lot. Mokaev kind of tries to dip under a whole lot of shots. So that is a shot that I think Manel Kape should have in the game plan on Mokaev. But with the cardio, the pace of the young buck, and the willingness to just shoot 20-plus takedowns, he's the side for me. I did lose a lot of the value on the number, so it's a complete pass for me. But siding with the younger Mokaev, just to put up a higher pace, probably steal this on the scorecards.
So I'm on the Kape side. Looks like the number's not going in my favor, so I might even double down on him. I do think that they moved the fight because of Kape. He's a liability on the mic. They want to give him the least amount of exposure possible, and I think that they know he's going to win. Mokaev, in his last fight, he's shooting for 20-plus takedowns. I think if you give Kape 20 looks at the same entry, he's going to read it and eventually land that flying knee. I think he's a lot more explosive. Mokaev, I think he probably lost his last fight. There's been a couple of fights where they're extremely too close, and Kape is on a different level than pretty much all of those guys. Even Alex Perez is somebody who's taken so much time off that you can't really trust him to be at his highest level at any point in time when he shows up in the octagon. Manel Kape, I think, has proven himself outside of an early sub by Mokaev, which is entirely possible. I think Kape really starts to take over round 2, round 3, and starts to pull away. So him at plus money is an easy play for me. Looking forward to it, though. Hope we do see him get on the mic afterwards. Mm-hmm. Moving up to the welterweight division, Oban Elliott versus Preston Parsons. These guys have a lot of similarities, to be honest with you. I think that this is going to be a fight where, both the wrestling pressures kind of cancel each other out. We're going to see the fight extend and see the judges' scorecards. I tend to favor Americans over Europeans when it comes to wrestling. So I do think that Preston Parsons is going to, win some of the moments in the fight and eventually get the nod on the judges' scorecards. But the fight goes to decision is minus 106 on FanDuel, and I think that that's probably what I'll hit for a unit. I think that that's the way to play this fight, and something that I think is probably pretty close.
Yeah, I've been looking at fight goes to distance myself in this one. I think it goes to a decision at a super high clip. Both guys pretty damn durable. Oban Elliott shown you he can fight back from getting rocked in his last couple fights. So don't never doubt in his durability, his heart. But he does slow down a little bit. He's also an X55er. I think Preston Parsons, when these guys lock up, is going to be a little bit stronger in the clinch and a little bit too technical when it comes to the grappling as well. Trust his cardio a little bit more. I'm on the Preston Parsons side. I know he's a pretty popular play this week. It seems like a ton of people are on Preston Parsons this week, and that's kind of kept me off of him to an extent. But, yeah, man, I think fight goes to decision. is a great play. Something I might actually hop on before the card starts this tonight.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see Parsons losing by a split decision and everybody with that ticket getting upset. Like I can see it now. So
Yeah.
fight goes to decision, don't have to worry about who it goes to, I think is the best play.
And like both guys are pretty durable. Both guys aren't super powerful strikers. If there is a finish, it's probably a submission, and they're both pretty talented grapplers, man. So yeah, I don't know. I like fight goes the distance. I think that's a super
Oban
good.
Elliott never been submitted before. Like this is,
I dig it, man.
yeah, I think it's easy money.
I mean, I probably would cap that at minus 150. I think it should be about 60% it goes the distance. So.
I would say even more, but their last I think their last 5 combined or 10 combined fights, 8 or 9 of them have gone to decision. Like it's crazy that we're getting that price tag. It seems trappy, but there's no traps. I mean, that's just the play.
We got to play that, man. I'll be on that before the card starts as well. Moving up to 205, Modestas Bukauskas taking on Marcin Prachnio. This is kind of like Sean O'Bannon to me, man. You know, I know I'm not getting dog money, but Marcin Prachnio is just a guy that I like to fade while he's in the UFC, you know. And I know that Modestas Bukauskas is not the greatest fighter, been knocked out like 4 times, but I think he's way better than Prachnio, man. I really do. I think he's got better finish potential. I think he's way more likely to land a takedown here. Volume might not be there from as Prachnio. You know, Prachnio throws a whole lot of kicks just trying to rack up the points. But outside of that, I don't think Marcin Prachnio is that good of a fighter, man. So Modestas Bukauskas has been staring me in the face all week. Don't know if I get to him before fight time, but it's a pretty clear side for me to pick Modestas Bukauskas to come out with his hand raised.
Yeah, I would agree. We talked about this a little bit earlier. This seems like a fight that goes to the scorecards at a really, really high clip. It's just hard to play when both guys have been chinny in the past.
Right.
But man, I mean, barring a head kick knockout, I really do think that this goes to decision at a really high clip. They're not giving you a good price tag at plus 150 for Bukauskas by decision. But that is how I see it happening. So if I was going to touch this fight, I'd want to keep it plus money and play the Bukauskas by decision. Marcin, he seems to have changed his game plan to where he can stick on the outside, live to see another day instead of going in there and getting chin checked. So, yeah, I think that Bukauskas is the rightful favorite. I don't see a lot happening in that fight. Probably one of the more forgettable ones of the night. Moving up, though, to the bantamweight division, Colin Loughran taking on Jake Hadley. This is a fight that I don't think sees the judges' scorecards. We got Hadley coming in on short notice. I think that Loughran's the type of guy who pushes a really, really high pace, and Hadley's going to have to sell out for some stuff to gain his respect. I think over the course of 15 minutes, there's going to be points where Loughran starts to break Hadley if Hadley doesn't find the finish. And we're getting like a crazy price tag on it. So that's one where I'm considering like a unit, seeing how it rolls, because Hadley's kind of got his back against the wall. I know he's coming off. He's already not in the UFC's good graces. Yeah. We knew that coming in off the Contender Series, and now he's 0-2 in his last 3, and his only significant wins in the UFC are Malcolm Gordon and Carlos Candelario. Yeah. He's got to make something happen here. So he's taking these fights on short notice. He missed weight. I don't think that this looks good for him. Under in this fight is the way to go. And I think I'm taking Loughran as well.
Yeah, I'm on the Loughran side as well. You know, it was quite shocking to me that Jake Hadley missed weight for a bantamweight fight. You know, I know it's short notice, but typically being a flyweight, you and I have talked about it before, who we kind of resemble physique-wise in the UFC. And Jake Hadley and we have quite the similar stature, you know. He's a massive flyweight, and as long as he can make that weight, I think that's where he should stay, man. I don't really, he might be a little bit healthier, have a little bit more energy at bantamweight, and maybe it's just this bantamweight, but I think Colin Loughran could bench press this dude 100 times. I just think he's so much stronger when they're going to lock up. He's got a block head. I don't think he's going to get knocked out. I think it's going to be hard to submit him. And I just feel like Colin's wrestling and top control is far superior to Jake Hadley's. I'm kind of with you. Jake Hadley's going to have to sell out on some things to try to get any respect back from Colin Loughran. So I'm on the Loughran side pretty big as well. I kind of did a little tiered leg after my parlay with Mick Parkin. I added 0.5 units, adding Colin Loughran to it. I'm on this side pretty big as well. I think Jake Hadley, this was lost a couple fights in a row on home soil, step up on short notice, do the UFC a favor, maybe get rewarded, after this with a new contract or an easier fight or something. I think he was kind of in a tough spot. And, man, I think he's in an extremely tough spot today. I wouldn't be surprised if Colin Loughran does go out there and finish him. Moving to Molly McCann, Meatball taking on Bruna Brazil. Bruna Brazil back here and fighting in England. Again, I told you I laid the juice, played her big against Shauna Bannon. I'm on Molly McCann, though, pretty big. I added her to that leg of the parlay as well. I think Molly McCann, honestly, could finish Bruna Brazil. I think at 115, it has forced Molly McCann to really take her career seriously. That's just my honest opinion. I think she's has to pay attention to her physique way more, her training, her cardio. I think this move to 115 was exactly what she probably needed for her career, kind of being undersized already. Think she's way powerful on the feet. I don't think Bruna Brazil reacts too well to getting hit. I think Molly McCann has top control wrestling upside. I think she's way more likely to finish the fight, with a knockout. I don't think she's going to go out here and sub Brazil like she did Belbita. But, yeah, I like Molly McCann. I don't Bruna just doesn't have too much firepower to stop the forward pressure of Molly, and it might get to her eventually. Molly McCann's the side for me.
Yeah, I have to agree, but this is another fight where I feel like the under's getting completely disrespected. Molly McCann in her last 5 fights has not seen a second round. In the last 3 years, she hasn't seen the judges' scorecards. She's going up against Bruna Brazil, who will push a pace, and Meatball's in her hometown. She's amped up. She goes out there. The last time she was in her hometown, she did the spinning back elbow against Luana Carolina. I think that we're going to see something very similar here. She's going to push an insane pace, and whether she gets caught in a submission early and Brazil gets the finish, or she goes out there and knocks Brazil out, who has terrible defense, I see both of those happening at a pretty high clip, and we're getting plus money for fight doesn't go decision and plus 125, plus 130 for the under 2.5. I don't think I'd get greedy, but I don't see this going to the judges' scorecards. I see Meatball selling out early and, us getting a definitive end to the fight. So Molly's the side, but the under is going to be the play for me. Moving up to the men's featherweight division, Nathaniel Wood taking on Daniel Pineda. I think that this line's gotten a little out of hand. Nathaniel Wood, awesome fighter, but he's never dominant, really.
Yeah.
He's pretty good everywhere, but I don't see him going out here and getting just like a finish. I really don't. Pineda's a tough dude. No USADA now. I think that there's a lot of potential that he comes out here, remains a brick wall, makes this fight close, and possibly wins just by damage and landing the bigger shots. So Pineda's the side for me. It's really tough to bet him just given the age difference and everything else. But when I see plus 340 staring at me, I can probably look past it. So possible play for me. I do think that he's absolutely the value side here. The fight's a close one. I probably give it 55% Nathaniel Wood. So it's honestly a must play value wise to lay some money on Pineda.
Been tempted on Pineda all week myself, man. I feel like Wood's skill for skill wise is probably the superior fighter of the two. A little bit better striker, a little bit better gas tank, a little bit better grappling. But he's a small featherweight, man, and Pineda is in great shape this week. 28 wins inside the distance. Very, very dangerous opponent. I love seeing that when you're taking an underdog, just all the finishing upside in the world. I just feel like Nathaniel Wood might eventually get to him in rounds 2 or 3 with the pace and with the takedowns. I feel like a 2-3 submission for Wood is on the table here. But, dude, I don't know. Nathaniel Wood up at featherweight has shown us already why he shouldn't be a massive favorite. And Pineda's a clear side for me. Just the way he's been finished in the past and his cardio now in enemy territory. A couple red flags that are kind of keeping me off of him. But I don't hate anybody for taking a shot there because Nathaniel Wood is not a minus 500, minus 400 fighter, man. Stepping up to the main card, this does round out my 2-unit parlay with Mick Parkin. I'm on the Arnold Allen side. I think Arnold Allen brings the pressure and the pace to negate a whole lot of Giga's style of fight that he likes at range. The southpaw stance of Allen takes away Giga's main body kick that he really likes. I think Arnold Allen, if he goes in here like he did against Sadiq Yusuf, like he did against Movsar Evelev, looking for any type of submissions, I think the wrestling's on another level. I think he could pick Giga up, sling his ass around, and submit him early. I really do think there's just a difference in fighter here, man. So I know you're on the Giga side, but I feel pretty good about Arnold Allen potentially even finishing Giga tonight.
I would feel good about Arnold Allen if I could trust him wrestling, and I'd agree that he has the upside if it does go to the ground. I just can't trust a European's wrestling, and Arnold Allen, notorious for kind of taking a shot to give a shot and just being the harder puncher out of the two. Giga's not really the guy you want to play that game with. We've seen him go toe-to-toe with Edson Barbosa, who I think is a much more technical striker than Arnold Allen. Maybe not as powerful, but as far as technique-wise, if he's able to stand with him, take his best shots and finish him, like it's kind of similar to Cub Swanson as well. Like there's a lot of forward pressure, there's a size disadvantage, and he's going to have to close the distance. And given that Giga's, best part of his game is the stand up and timing people's entries and everything else, I think if Arnold Allen has to rely on his wrestling to win this fight, it's not going to be a pretty scene. So I did take Giga Chikadze. If he is able to keep it on the feet, I think that he's probably going to win by decision. So I took him by decision as well. I'm on him for like a unit and a half total, but it's one of those ones where it's just such a high level fight. I think it's going to be close. And when a line gets out of hand like this, I gotta play Giga plus. I think I got him at like plus 205. It's tough to lay off for me.
Yeah. And a plus 400 something decision, right?
Yeah, plus 420 decision. They've got Arnold Allen decision at plus 100. It's just like, I think it's a really close fight. There's no way that that's correct, that Giga's a plus 420 and Arnold's a plus 100 if they see this fight going to decision. So
makes sense to me.
Yeah. Moving up the card to the middleweight division, Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Gregory Rodriguez. RoboCop is somebody I like betting at plus money. So even though it's only like plus 115, it's tough for me to lay off of him. I see why Christian Leroy is the favorite. I mean, Gregory's pretty defensively unreliable, and Duncan is pretty good. He's quick. He's athletic. He could expose RoboCop, but I think if it gets super deep, RoboCop's got that dog in him. I like betting him at plus money. He would be the side if I was playing a side in this fight, but I think that this is a pretty easy layoff spot given the other opportunities on the card. So G-Rod for me.
I want so bad to pick RoboCop. I've bet RoboCop a couple times, and you're right, at plus money, the dude will fight for your dollar. He's a dog. And the later this fight does go, I do feel like it will start to swing in Gregory's favor. But I feel like he's a lot slower than Christian Leroy, just kind of plots forward, doesn't have the best footwork. And I do think Christian Leroy Duncan from the outside is going to be able to use that jab, those leg kicks, poke around on the outside until he's ready to commit for a shot. If I knew RoboCop was going to come in here and initiate his grappling, it'd be an easy bet. But he's just, he's got great jiu-jitsu, but he loves to stand and strike with guys and put guys away on the feet. And when Jordan Williams has knocked you out, when Bruno Ferreira's knocked you out, stumbled by the Iron Turtle, that cut in the Cheaty fight, there's just time and time again that he's shown me that he can get touched up on the feet. And this just might be the most athletic, best striker that he's fought to date. And he's having to fly over and do it on short notice. So a couple red flags. I think, truth be told, I would want Gregory Rodriguez to win this fight. Much bigger fan of him. I just don't see that happening, man. I'm on the Leroy Duncan side tonight. Feature bout, Bobby King Green taking on Paddy Pimblett. Super good fight, man. And, on one hand, like Bobby Green has done enough that, like, at a pick'em price tag, I don't hate it if people want to play him. He's going to be the far superior fighter when it comes to his speed, his boxing, his jab is on point, his cardio is always on point. I just think the durability of Bobby Green is somewhat declining these days, man. The Drew Dober, the Jalen Turner, Patty packs a punch, man. While he might not be the most technical guy, if he unleashes some of those combinations and lands like he did against Luigi Vendramini, I kind of think he's going to hurt Bobby Green and put him down. If anybody has grappling upside here, I do think it's Patty Pimblett. The biggest thing for me that really kept me off of Bobby Green is just like he's really going to have to run away with this fight. Like, I don't think his finishing potential in Patty is very high. And you've already seen that they're very much willing to screw over guys to give Patty a decision, especially on home soil. So I just feel like Bobby Green is really going to have to run away with this fight to steal it on the scorecards. And so ultimately, I am going to side with Patty the Batty. I think Patty Pimblett's going to come out here with the win, man. Re-signed with the UFC this week as well. I'm sure motivation, everything's at an all-time high. I think Patty gets the job done.
Yeah, I don't know. I really considered laying 2 units on Bobby Green decision only and 2 units on Patty Pimblett finish only. I think that there's a pretty good chance that Pimblett goes out here and really sells out for a finish. We've seen Bobby chin checked a couple of times, but as he gets his read, Patty just, his striking looks pretty amateur, especially when he gets into a dogfight. He really starts exposing himself, and Bobby's just one of those guys who historically has been able to expose somebody without, very technical striking. So I'm not really convinced that Pimblett's going to be able to go out here and grapple him. If it winds up on the ground, maybe he could win some scrambles and stuff. But in my opinion, he's not going to be the one initiating that wrestling, at least not enough to keep Bobby Green on the ground. He's not Islam Makhachev, and I think that this is a little disrespectful as far as the line wise. Bobby Green should be the favorite. I think if this was taking place in America, I think that he'd be a minus 180, but it's not. And we see the line going back to the hometown guy. It makes sense to me, but I do think that this is probably a buy low spot for Bobby Green. And unless he's completely, checked out, chin's gone, he probably covers minus 150, with just a jab. With just a jab, he covers minus 150. So anything more, and I think that he gets the nod pretty easy. Moving up to the co-main event, heavyweights, Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes for a rematch. Man, this is a really tough one. It's obviously a super wide line considering the danger of heavyweights. Once you get up to this weight and this caliber of competition, one strike can change everything. And this is just the weight class with the least margin of error. And plus 320 seems disrespectful for somebody in Curtis Blaydes who has a little bit more experience, ton more experience for 5 rounds. Yeah. And, if he can survive the early onslaught of Aspinall, I could really see him exposing him down the stretch. But unfortunately for Curtis Blaydes, I think that Aspinall is, kind of like a generational talent. We've talked about before, I don't really look forward to any potential matchup with John Jones. I'd like for Jones to just sail off into the sunset before meeting Tom Aspinall because he moves insane, dude. He's got Cyril Gahn's mobility and Derek Lewis power. It's pretty unmatched in the division, and I do think that he's probably going to catch Curtis Blaydes early, who seems to love standing with power strikers, and we've seen him knocked out a few times by doing just that, and I think that's what's going to happen. So Tom Aspinall, round 1 TKO, or just round 1 at plus 105. I think that that's where the value is. A lot of his win equity is early. Give me Tom Aspinall.
I think Tom Aspinall should be favored. But at plus 310, the round props of 2,800, 3,000, 3,800, whatever, those were easy clicks for me, just truth be told. You already talked about the margin of error, the high-level fights. I bet Curtis Blaydes at plus 310 against any heavyweight in the world. That's just the truth about it, man. The guy's been 5 rounds. He has grappling upside that is atypical of most heavyweights. He's a very well-rounded guy. And it was an easy click for me at plus 310. But he is always his own worst enemy, kind of wanting to strike with strikers, not wrestling like he should. But, man, when Tom, prior to the knee injury, I mean, he came out to bang, and his head was not moving off the center line whatsoever. Curtis Blaydes' stand-up has vastly improved, but I do think you should try to look into mixing some wrestling, try to extend this fight. I watched Tom Aspinall's fight with Pavlovich back this week. He took a clean-ass punch straight across the jaw from Pavlovich and kept coming, man. The chin for Tom Aspinall might still be there, and I can't say the same for Curtis Blaydes. So it's very, very scary, but at plus 310 and these stupid round props, Tom Aspinall is 1-2 in fights that get outside of round one. So again, just an easy click for me. I do think Tom Aspinall is more likely to win the fight. I think he should be favored here, just not at the rate that he is favored. So hopefully Curtis Blaydes come through for me tonight, correct that. And then in our main event, man, Leon Edwards taking on Belal Muhammad. I know you're on Belal Muhammad. I've been very tempted to get on in pre-fight as well, but I think I'm going to try to enter on Belal live. I think Leon's going to at least steal round one here at a really, really good clip. I think a lot of Belal's win condition is predicated on his pace and pressure getting to Leon late in this fight. I think a lot of the finishing upside is on Leon. I think it's Belal by decision if he does. And then again, it's kind of like the Bobby Green, like he's really going to need to run away with it here. He's really going to have to damage him while he's on the mat with these judges favoring, the stand up. We could see Belal ground him for 3 minutes and Leon get up, land a couple good shots, and steal the round. So it's just been tricky to me all week. Leon's got clear advantages on the feet, but I do think the guy slows down. I think he has no sense of urgency whatsoever, gets stuck on the fence. Just, I don't know, man. Something about Leon, I think his confidence or something can be broken easily is kind of the best way to put it. And I do know Belal is going to absolutely fight for every last dime you put on him. I think that he knows it took everything he had to even get this title shot. And this is probably the one and only title shot that he's going to get. I think this year layoff for him has dedicated himself to beating Leon Edwards. The 2023 versus 2024 pictures, steroids or not, the guy's put in the work, and it's very fucking evident. I don't hate a bet on Belal Muhammad pre-fight. I'm going to try to enter on him live. Hopefully he comes out of here, lands a couple takedowns, put the pace on him, steal a couple rounds from Leon. Win the belt, man. Kind of cheering for Belal.
Yeah, sure. I am. I put 2 units on Belal already. I hate to discredit somebody, but you look at Leon Edwards, and to me, he's still got a ton to prove, man. Belal Muhammad was going to be his first, real title. Well, not really, but you know what I'm saying? Belal Muhammad in their first fight, I didn't think he was doing terrible. Like a lot of people said that Leon was tearing him up. He did catch him on the feet, but in my head, like I saw that fight playing out with Belal starting to break Leon. Like Leon didn't get him out with that early onslaught, and he knew that Belal was going to be there for the remaining rounds. He goes on to beat Nick Diaz, 37-year-old Kamaru Usman twice, and then 37-year-old Colby Covington. Like there is still a lot to prove before I consider him up there with even, Tyron Woodley as far as welterweight greats, like he's still got a lot to prove. And Belal Muhammad, it just seems like this is his time. The people that he's training with, the transformation of his body, this just seems like somebody who he's already beat mentally. And like you said, there does seem to be maybe a self-esteem issue with Leon Edwards, especially if he doesn't get his way early in fights. And I do think that Belal Muhammad is going to bring that extra oomph that Colby Covington wasn't able to bring in his last fight. Colby has the same style. He just didn't look himself. I think he said he might have broke his foot. Barring an injury, if Belal continues to push the pressure like he has in all of his last fights, I think the wins over Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady age better than any of Leon Edwards' wins since holding the belt. So I don't know, man. I think that this is Belal's time. Yeah, like you said, he's been waiting for this. He's 36 years old. This is kind of his final shot. There's no way he'll earn another title shot if he loses this one.
Right.
So, I think, as long as he comes in here healthy, plus 210 is insane for a fight that I think goes to the judges' scorecards at a pretty high clip. And I think it's close at a pretty high clip. So if Belal can, manage to stay away from that early pressure that Leon brings, like last a round and a half, I think we really start to see the tides change after that. And Belal, new champion. Never thought I'd say it, but yeah.
I like it, man. I hope the best for it. I hope both dogs come through in main events. They have all year. Hopefully the streak will continue a little bit for us. I know we're both trying to get out of a rut, so it'd be nice a couple dogs come through for you, a couple
Sure.
of parlays hit or something for me today, get us back on track. That's all 14 fights we got going down this afternoon across the pond in England. 2 title fights, looking to correct some no contest, eye poke, some ACL tears in the octagon. So I'm excited to get these 2 fights run back, see how they're actually going to play out in real time. So all 14 fights, man, going down this Saturday tonight. I appreciate you guys watching. Do us a favor, like, subscribe. We'll see y'all back next week.
Peace.